In this webinar, I'll be presenting about practical PMP with Microsoft Project 2013 or 2010. I'm Satyanarayan Das. I'm a certified PMP. This session has been organized by Knowledgehut. Knowledgehut is a registered education provider from PMI. A brief about myself. I have around 14 years of experience in software engineering and management. I'm a certified PMP from PMI since 2008. I have coached many professionals on practical PMP. There are certain new management paradigm on PMP that I have created. They are Agile PMP, which is PMBOK with Agile related methodologies. Practical PMP with MSP, which is Microsoft Project, which we'll be talking in this webinar. Practical PMP with Primavera, which is from Oracle. Out of which practical PMP with Microsoft Project has been used since 2008, not only in India, outside of India as well. There are many international research publications related to practical PMP with Microsoft Project, which we'll see later in the slide. It has been used by professionals in mining, in construction, in software industry, in logistics, and in manufacturing as well. This is my personal experience when I have taught people on practical PMP with Microsoft Project, not only in India, sometimes out of India. Okay, so in the agenda that we are going to discuss is what is practical PMP? That is the question which most of you will be asking right now. Advantages of practical PMP over traditional PMP program, the process groups, the knowledge areas, and processes covered in practical PMP. How to be a practical PMP, that is to be certified in project management professional, that is from PMI. Also, you will be certified as a Microsoft certified professional. Few people know that Microsoft project comes with some certification. So with this program, we prepare you for PMP as well as for Microsoft certifications. And also we'll be talking about how Microsoft Project 2010 or 2013 will help you as a project management professional. Okay, what is practical PMP? It is a practical session driven program. It is not a theoretical session on PMBOK 5th edition. So that I actually tell there are two kinds of PMP. One is the traditional PMP, which people typically provide. That is on PMBOK Guide 5th edition. PMBOK stands for Project Management Body of Knowledge. That is from PMI. To get an understanding on PMBOK Guide, earlier you can have a look at the webinars that has been done by Knowledgehut. So that is a very theoretical book. PMBOK Guide is written like a product requirement specification, or it's like a PRD document which is written in a specification format, and it is completely theoretical. In practical PMP, you will not only know the theoretical part, you will also know how to apply the PMBOK principles and practices with Microsoft Project 2013 or Microsoft Project 2010. 2013 is the latest edition of Microsoft Project, and PMBOK 5th edition is the latest edition of PMBOK Guide from PMI. In practical PMP program, also you will be knowing about Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint whenever they are needed. Like there are certain knowledge areas like risk management, stakeholder management, where we will be using Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint. In practical PMP program, you will be knowing the convergences and differences between PMBOK terms and terminologies with that of Microsoft Project. What has happened is actually Microsoft Project, when the software is prepared, they take a lot of input from traditional project management methodologies. As far as I know, Microsoft Project has referred PMBOK Guide while preparing the software or enhancing the software. In the support documentation of Microsoft project as well, there are reference to PMBOK guide 4th edition or 5th edition. So in this program of practical PMP, what we do, we go by the theoretical part first, then we teach you the practical aspect of Microsoft project, comparing the theoretical parts of PMBOK guide. The participants will have step-by-step practical module. They will work on a case study driven project, a real world project, which will be built over module by module, and by end of the program, which is a 4-day class of or 32 hours of duration, you will be knowing the theoretical aspect of PMBOK guide. Also, you will be knowing Microsoft project end to end, and whenever needed, you will be knowing how to apply project management related practices with Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint. Another question which you might be asking me, that this program is applicable for 35-hour formal project management training or formal contact video program from PMI. Absolutely, it is definitely applicable, that if you go through this program, you are eligible to get 35 PDUs from PMI. There have been people, so this practical PMP with Microsoft project is used by people since 2008. So from 2008 onwards, there are many professionals who have gone through this program, and they are certified in PMP, also certified in Microsoft project. It also qualifies for Microsoft project certification exam from Microsoft. We'll see more details about that exam, what it asks in that exam in this webinar. Here we'll be discussing the advantages over traditional PMP. As I said, typically most of the providers, that is the registered education provider from PMI, they provide on traditional PMP, which is the theoretical part of PMBOK guide. So in traditional PMP, you will be knowing 5 process groups of PMBOK guide. The 5 process groups are initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Here in practical PMP, you will be knowing the practical aspects of those process groups as well. That is, how will you initiate a project, how will you plan a project, how you are going to execute it, how you are going to track it and close it with Microsoft project. In traditional PMP, you will be knowing 10 knowledge areas theoretically. Those are integration, scope, time, cost, quality, human resources, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. So that is the theoretical side we will know. However, in practical PMP, you will be knowing the practical aspects of it. We'll see more details as we proceed in this webinar. There are 47 processes. As you would be knowing, in PMBOK guide, there will be 5 process groups, 10 knowledge areas, and 47 process areas. So 47 processes you will be knowing theoretically. In practical PMP, we'll not only know the theoretical part, also we'll know the practical aspects of it. In PMP, there is a term called ITTO. ITTO stands for Input, Tools and Techniques and Outputs. There are over 600 ITTOs which are available in PMBOK guide, which a PMP aspirant or a person who wants to be a certified PMP needs to know. That you will know in traditional PMP in a theoretical way. In practical PMP, you will know also the practical way. For example, let us say WBS, which stands for Work Breakdown Structure. There is a process in scope management which is called Create WBS. The output of Create WBS is scope baseline, which consists of the WBS dictionary and scope statement. So in practical PMP, you will be knowing the theoretical part. Also, you will know how to create a WBS with respect to Microsoft project, how to know the levels. It can have level 1 till level N, the level you want to define, the WBS IDs or the custom WBS IDs. with respect to Microsoft project. There is a concept called scope baseline. Theoretically, you will know theoretical, also the practical, and also you know how to create a baseline, how to create not only one baseline, multiple baseline, how to measure the variances. Similarly, there are other inputs and outputs such as stakeholder register, which is from stakeholder management knowledge area. There is risk register, which is from risk management knowledge area. Also tools and techniques like critical path, which is from schedule management. Resource leveling, again from schedule management. Earned value management, which is from cost management. Decomposition, which is from schedule management. Also in scope management. There are quantitative risk analysis, qualitative risk analysis techniques, which you will be knowing in practical PMP. Overall, in traditional PMP program, which is provided by almost all providers, you will be knowing the theoretical PMBOK guide. Here in practical PMP, you will be knowing the PMBOK guide, Microsoft project, and whenever needed, Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint. As far as I have seen, practical PMP with Microsoft project and other needed tools is not available in India. Not only available in India, I don't think anyone in the world provides how to prepare yourself as a project management professional, not only with theory of PMBOK guide, but with practical aspects or practical tools such as Microsoft project or other related tools like Excel and PowerPoint. Going slightly deeper, we have certain process groups that is initiating. MS project supports initiating, so in practical PMP we'll be talking about that. For example, stakeholder register. So stakeholder register is an output of identify stakeholder process, and we will be using and showing it to the participants how to create that. In planning process group, there is another process group in PMBOK guide. Here also Microsoft projects supports it, like you have schedule management plan, scope management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, you have stakeholder management plan, you have communication management plan, which are combined together and called as project management plan. Microsoft project combines them together and creates a single file which is called MPP or Microsoft project plan. There is executing process group. In executing process group, the theory you will be knowing in traditional. As I'm saying from the beginning, here you will know the theory as well as practical. Like here you will know scope execution, task completion, the progress of a task, the progress of the project, seeing what is the variance with respect to scope, seeing what is the variance with respect to cost. Those are the details which will be available in Microsoft project. Monitoring and controlling. Here you can do baseline related activities, schedule tracking, earned value management, which is possible through Microsoft project. I have given some of the examples because it is not possible to list out all of them. In closing, when you close a project, you close with respect to procurement, you close with respect to integration. So in Microsoft project, also we close with respect to the project plan, we update the lesson learned, we update the project and update in an archive. There are steps to do it in a practical way, which will be taught in the class of practical PMP. In PMBOK guide, there are 10 knowledge areas. One is integration management. Microsoft project supports integration management, which is the Microsoft project plan, which is a combination of time, scope, cost, communication, stakeholder, etc. There is scope management. Microsoft project supports WBS, WBS dictionary, scope baseline, etc. in create WBS. Then you have project time management, which is another knowledge area. Here you have in Microsoft project tasks which are defined in define activities process area. There is linking, which is called sequencing in PMBOK guide. There is called PDM, which is precedence diagramming method in PMBOK guide in theory. In practical PMP, Microsoft project called precedence diagramming method as network diagramming. or network diagram, there are dependencies like you have finish to start, start to start, finish to finish, and start to finish kinds of dependencies which can be done with Microsoft project. There is lead, lag, which is also possible to do with Microsoft project. There is float, free float, total float, forward pass, backward pass, which you will learn in the theoretical part. In practical PMP, you will know not only the theoretical part, you will also know the practical part of it. Then in cost management, you will know how to estimate tasks, which is part of cost estimate of task, which is part of estimate costs in cost management. Determine budget, where you get the complete budget. Then earned value management, which is used as a tools and techniques in control costs. So you will know how to do it in Microsoft project. Then there is quality management. Microsoft project, you can create quality related tasks. You can create a quality related plan, which will be part of project management plan. Then there is human resource management, which is PMBOK guides, another knowledge area. Here in Microsoft project, you can have RBS, which stands for resource breakdown structure, staffing calendar, the resource group, in plan HR management. Then acquire project team, develop project team, and manage project team, which is the theoretical part and how it fits into Microsoft project when you go in a real world driven project. Communication, which is very important for a project manager, and it's a dedicated knowledge area theoretically in PMBOK guide. In practical PMP, you will know the theoretical aspects, also the practical aspects like how to create built-in, how to use the built-in reports, how to create your own reports, like who are the resources who are overloaded, which resource is taking the highest amount of cost, what is the timeline view for this particular project, how to create your own custom reports or inbuilt reports like you have earned value management related reports. Risk management, it can be done with Microsoft project, but here we'll be taking help of Microsoft project as well as Microsoft Excel. So here we'll be covering for risk register, quantitative and qualitative risk analysis, risk response planning with respect to MS project and MS Excel. Then there is procurement management. Here Microsoft project can help you with procurement related activities. It doesn't help entirely. There are certain limitations here because Microsoft project is not designed as a procurement management tool, but some of the aspects can be covered definitely in Microsoft project in a practical way. Then there is stakeholder management, which is another knowledge area. And here the key output that we have in stakeholder management is stakeholder register, which keeps on updating from identified stakeholders to plan stakeholder management. Then you have manage stakeholder engagement and control stakeholder engagement. In all the processes, the stakeholder register will keep on getting updated. You do not have to create a stakeholder register fresh. Microsoft projects has export and import functionality which will make your stakeholder register updation and sharing of stakeholder register with your senior management team or with your peers or with your team members very easy. And practical PMP tells you how to do that. This here we will be covering Microsoft project as well as Microsoft Excel. Next is the eligibility requirement. When people come for practical PMP, the question they ask me, as I said in one of the earlier slides, that am I eligible for Microsoft, this practical PMP when I go through, am I eligible for the 35 PDU? As I said, it is a 4-day program. You are definitely eligible. There have been successful PMPs who have gone through the program and they are certified in Microsoft project, also certified in PMP from PMI. So as you would be knowing, I'll be briefly covering. So from this 35 PDU is the mandatory requirement from PMI to sit in the PMP exam. And there is project experience for a diploma holder or a degree holder. If you are a degree holder, you have 4,500 hours of experience needed. If you are a diploma holder, you need to have 7,500 hours of professional project experience. Practical PMP with Microsoft projects enables you for 35-hour formal project management training contact program or 35 PDU. Here this webinar is organized by Knowledgehut. So Knowledgehut, if you are coming through Knowledgehut will give you 35 PDUs once you go through this practical PMP program. As I said, in this program, we not only prepare you for PMP, which is Project Management Professional, we also prepare you for Microsoft Project Certification. Microsoft Project comes in two flavors, the certifications. One is Exam 74343, another is Exam 74344. This is for Microsoft Project 2013. 74, this is the code number 74343, Managing Projects with Microsoft Project 2013. And 344 is Managing Programs and Projects with Microsoft Server 2013. Here we will be covering this exam, which is Managing Projects with Microsoft Project 2013. The code is 74343. As I said, this course is compatible with Microsoft Project 2013 or Microsoft Project 2010. For 2010, there is another code which is 70178, and that also will be preparing if you want to have practical PMP with Microsoft Project 2010. The course content remains same for 2013 as well as 2010. The course contents are initializing the project, creating task-based schedule, managing resources and assignments, tracking and analyzing project, communicating project information. So all these details we will be covering in our program for practical PMP. Now the eligibility part. If you are eligible for PMI PMP certification, I assume you might be a diploma holder or a degree holder. So that means you need to have 4,500 hours or 3 years of project management experience, or 7,500 hours or 5 years of project management experience. If you have that experience, you are automatically eligible for Microsoft Project certification. So Microsoft Project, in fact, doesn't have any specific criteria. If you look at Microsoft Project certification, there are very young people who are getting certified on Microsoft Project. So there is no specific criteria. So as I am saying, that if you are qualified for PMP, to sit in the exam of PMP, you are automatically qualified for Microsoft Project certification. Next is the prerequisite part. When you come for practical PMP, this program is not theoretical. First of all, I want to emphasize on that. You are not going to sit in the class for 4 days on your chairs and just writing something or looking at the presenter or looking at the board, just noting down or just nodding your head. Here we ask you to come up with your laptop or your tablet or any handheld devices, preferably a laptop, which is preferable. Here you need to have Microsoft Project 2013 installed. We will be talking about the project standard or project professional, the client side. It has to be installed. The installation will be helped by the provider. So Knowledgehut, if you are coming through Knowledgehut will be helping you. There are support professionals which will be helping you how to install that. So before you come to this classroom session of 4 days, you need to have Microsoft Project installed. So as we proceed on the theoretical part, like for example, I started with initiating, I covered some processes. Then I'll ask you to open up Microsoft Project and create a dummy simple project. Then we go for, say, time management. Then I'll give you a case study. On the time management, you have to prepare the activities. You have to sequence the activities. You have to create a network diagram. You have to assign the resources to the activities. You have to create a schedule. You have to understand what are the project calendars. What is a resource calendar? If you can create any custom calendar for your project, that you will be doing hands-on. So you are not only learning the theoretical part, you will be learning the practical part as well. To be specific, theory coverage will be 50 to 60%. Practical coverage will be 40 to 50%. Now there is a trial version of software which is available from Microsoft Project. It is for 60 days. So we will ask you to install this software. And I understand that you will have Microsoft Excel or Microsoft PowerPoint. Most of the people have it. If you don't, then also you can have a trial copy installed. In this class, the training material copy will be provided to you. And this training material is unique. As I am saying, this is nowhere available in India or any part of the world. So this is a hard copy which will be given to you, and the person or the instructor present there will be teaching you the theory part and also will be talking about the practical. And once you are covered on the practical, then we will go to the next module. It is a kind of incremental learning. Now, incremental learning from module to module. Here, I do not expect any of you would be knowing anything with respect to PMBOK guide. There is no knowledge needed for PMBOK guide. So you can come without any understanding on PMBOK guide to the session. We'll prepare you for PMP exam. I don't expect that you would be knowing anything related to Microsoft project. No previous knowledge of Microsoft project 2013 or 2010 is needed. We will build you up from the very beginning to an expert level of Microsoft project practitioner after 4 days. Next is how MS project helps the PMP. This is another part which you might be asking me. So this is what is happening. As I said, PMBOK guide is written in a theoretical way. It is not meant to be practical, because if you look at as a specification guide, a product specification or a management knowledge-based specification is definitely not written in a practical way, because practical implementation can vary from vendor to vendor. So here in a traditional PMP, which many providers provide for PMP exam, you would be knowing the theory. But after this program, that is practical PMP with Microsoft project, you will be knowing the practical aspects. So you will be able to create project plans from day one post the PMP certification or post your class. Once your class is over, you'll be knowing how to create a Microsoft project plan, what it means to have a WBS, what it means to have activities, what it means to have sequence or dependencies, what it means for resource leveling, what calendar means, what resource overloading means, what is the various terms and terminologies defined in earned value management, like you have earned value, actual cost, planned value, schedule variance, cost performance index, schedule performance index. These are all theory in PMBOK guide. This you will see in a practical way in Microsoft project. So you will be able to apply various tools and techniques learned in PMBOK guide in a practical way. You will also learn how to initiate, plan, execute, track, that is monitoring and controlling, and close a project with Microsoft project. So when you initiate Microsoft project, there are some settings requirement. You have to set Microsoft project up. When you close, you have to also close. There will be tracking closure. You have to save it as a template. And when you save a template, there are certain precautions to be taken. How to archive the Microsoft project when you close it, that also will be teaching you. You will learn how to create executive reports for senior management team with Microsoft project. Communication, as I said, is one of the most important knowledge areas, though easy from an exam perspective. Here you will know with communication how to create various reports. There are various reports related to schedule, related to cost, related to resources, specific reports like you have earned value management report. There are reports for burn down related reports, which has been newly introduced in 2013 of Microsoft project. You can also create your own custom reports, so which will be helpful for you to share what is going on with this with respect to the project. You will also learn where are the bottlenecks in the project, which resources, bottlenecks in a sense, there are various options provided in Microsoft project. There are options for sorting, for filtering, for grouping. Filtering, you can have your own custom filter. There are built-in filters. You can have your custom grouping. There are built-in groupings. You can define your own custom grouping. So you can find out applying a filter, you can find out what are the tasks which are completed. You can find out what are the tasks which are slipping, or you want to find out what are the tasks which might be delayed, or you want to find out which are the tasks on critical path, or which are the tasks about to hit the critical path, or you want to find out which task is having the highest slack or float so that you can delay it further without any impact on the end date of the project. These are the things which you learn in theory that you learn in a practical way. Which resources are overloaded? Resources get overloaded. So in human resource management, so you actually plan for human resources, then you acquire a team, there your resources are available as part of the project team. So while you assign the resources to the task, and as you execute the project after your planning, some resources might be overloaded. You can find instantly what are the resources overloaded with the help of this tool. Which activity is taking the most money? Sometimes you might know what are the activities in your plan which is taking most money. It might be even quality related activities, or it might be any material resource which is taking good amount of money. In Microsoft project, there are three kinds of resources. You have human resources, you have material resources, and you have cost resources. So we will tell you how it maps the Microsoft project related resources, how it maps to PMBOK guide. What is the cash flow of the project? There is a built-in report which is part of Microsoft project. This is some of the examples I have given you. There are around 40 plus reports which are available in total. There are various views, like you have Gantt chart. Gantt chart you will be knowing in theory. So what you will be knowing in theory in time management, you will see in a practical way. EVM related reports or EVM related metrics, like you have cost performance index, schedule performance index, TCPI, to complete performance index, ESC, estimated completion, ETC, estimate to complete, or actual cost, earned value, planned value, etc. Those things you can see it, how it happens in real world with the help of that tool. So these are the things Microsoft project can help you as a project management professional. So this program, as I'm repeatedly saying, not only helps you in a theoretical way, it helps you to apply those theories, the principles and practices in PMBOK guide with a case study driven practical module after module, and you will be expert both in knowing PMBOK guide and also Microsoft project. And sometimes, whenever needed, Microsoft Excel, like I said, we use it for stakeholder register or risk register, and PowerPoint, like for example, organizational breakdown structure, OBS, it is used as part of human resource management. There is RBS, which is resource breakdown structure, which is part combined with time in top help to make you understand how it happens in a real world project. Okay, here in this slide I'll dive a little deeper. Here it is with respect to time management specifically. So in the first part of the table, I am comparing PMBOK guide with Microsoft project, the differences that we have. In the second part of the table, I'm actually finding out what are the convergences PMBOK guide has with Microsoft project. If you look at the differences, in PMBOK guide, it is called a project, which is the top level task or top level activity. In Microsoft project, it is called as project summary task. So the concept remains same, but the way the terms are slightly different. So in each module, you will know, here I am talking of with respect to time management. Similarly, you will know with respect to scope management, cost management, human resource management, quality management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. Next is in time management, PMBOK says activity. Activity comes in define activity, define activities. there is a process in time management. In MS project it is called as task. Then there is activity attributes, which is an output of defined activities. In MS project it is called task attributes. There is rolling web planning. Rolling web planning is actually not only applicable in scope management where the decomposition happens, sometimes in time management also rolling web planning might be needed. If you look at decomposition is a tools and techniques which is used in create WBS. Also decomposition is a tools and techniques which is used in define activities. MS project handles rolling web planning or progressive elaboration using placeholder task and manual scheduling. Manual scheduling got introduced for the first time in 2010, Microsoft Project 2010. Then there is activity list, which is an output of create activities in time management. Define activities, sorry. In Microsoft Project it is called task list. Then there is activity duration, here it is called task duration. In PMBOK guide, that is called a term called sequencing. There is a process area or process out of 47 processes. So there is something called sequence activity in time management. Here in Microsoft Project, there is RBS, resource breakdown structure. Here Microsoft Project has resources. Resources, as I said, are three categories: human resources or work resources. Then you have material resources and cost resources. And we will tell you where it fits in with respect to PMBOK guide. Then we have project calendar in DevOps, another process in management. In Microsoft Project that is called base calendar. In PMBOK guide there is something called project schedule network diagram, which is used as a tools and techniques while developing a schedule. In Microsoft Project it is called network diagram. It is part of the view. There are many views, around 20 plus views in Microsoft Project. So one of the views is network diagram. It will show you what are the predecessor activities, what are the successor activities, what kind of dependencies they have, what is the completion status of that particular activity, and it will be presented in a network diagram. Then you have schedule baseline. PMBOK guide talks of three baselines. One is schedule baseline in schedule management. Then you have scope baseline in scope management and cost baseline in cost management. In this slide I am talking of time management. Microsoft Project takes them all together and it is called as a baseline, integrated them all. So if you understand PMBOK guide, actually integration management covers the rest of the 9 knowledge areas. So PMBOK guide calls them individually separate baseline. Microsoft Project combines them all and takes it as a single baseline. In PMBOK it is called as a schedule management plan, which is put up plan management, which is the first process in time management knowledge area. Microsoft Project plan is actually the schedule management plan. These are the differences part, some of the differences part noted for time management. What are the conversions you have in PMBOK guide as well as Microsoft Project? You have resource calendar, which is used both for PMBOK as well as Microsoft guide project. Then you have dependencies, you have leads and lags. Same for PMBOK, use the same term. Microsoft Project also uses the same term. You have resource leveling, which is a kind of resource optimization technique in PMBOK guide. Microsoft Project also uses the same term called resource leveling. There is schedule compression, which is a tools and technique which is used in PMBOK guide in developing schedule or in control schedule, where you do a schedule compression. Two kinds of schedule compressions, you have crashing and fast tracking. The same terms are used in Microsoft Project. Then you have milestone or milestone list, which is part of define activities output. In Microsoft Project it is also milestone list. You have critical path. Microsoft Project also calls it as a critical path. You have free float, total float. In PMBOK guide, Microsoft Project calls them as slack, which is free slack or total slack. The terms are same, the meaning is same. Whatever you are seeing, like the forward pass or the backward pass, using the early start, late start, early finish, late finish, the same concepts are available in Microsoft Project. Then you have modeling techniques, like you have what if analysis. We can use what if analysis in Microsoft Project. So this is a comparison for time management overall. So what I'm trying to say here is, you'll know the theory on the time management. Here I'm just staying for time management. Also you'll know what are the differences and convergences. You'll create a practical Microsoft project plan, and you will find out, okay, this is what I learned in theory, and these are the inputs, these are the outputs, these are the tools and techniques that PMBOK guide is saying to me. And if I go to Microsoft project, how I'm going to implement in a practical way, we will teach you as part of a particular program. Similarly, for rest of the knowledge areas, we'll teach you how to use Microsoft project and Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint. To give you a quick demo what done, I'm going to just open Microsoft project here right now. So this is a Microsoft project plan. It is part of, there are many modules, like we'll go for PMBOK guide, theoretical modules. Similarly for Microsoft project, we'll go hand in hand with practical modules. So it is a project that has been created. So here, this is a project plan. These are various tasks. I'm just talking with respect to time management. So if I want to see what are the WBS level, so I have to go to just here and say give me all the level 1 tasks for WBS. So there is only one. If I want to see, give me all the level 2 tasks, it will show me all the level 2 tasks of the WBS. I want to see all of them. I can see all the tasks. So these are basically work packages that you are seeing, and these are basically activities which are called in PMBOK term. In Microsoft project, it is called as tasks. If I want to see what is the critical path, so here is the Gantt chart. This is the Gantt chart view. If I want to see the critical path, here is one of the quickest way to go. If I want to see, all the red colored one are critical paths, critical tasks. So this task, which is design and develop front end, this task, another task in phase 2, these two are critical tasks. The internal thing that you are seeing, this is with respect to progress that has been tracked, and we are seeing the progress. The progress is coming here. Whichever the task which is 100% complete is with the tick mark. This task is 100% complete. This part task is 75% complete. This will happen as part of control schedule, which is a process in time management in PMBOK. If I want to see what is the baseline, just I have to go to another view, which is tracking Gantt. Tracking Gantt show me what is the baseline. So here, the main bar, there are two bars that you are seeing. The lower bar is the baseline one. The upper bar is the actual one. For example, if I look at third-party software installation, this is the baseline one. Now this has been complete, but there has been a delay, and this bar, which is the actual one, which has got delayed by some time. So this is the grayed out bar is for the baseline. This bar is for the actual one. Similarly, if I want to see, for example, what are the various linking, so this is similar, like you have finish to finish. Finish to finish is represented as FF. Start to start is represented as SS. Start to start with a delay, I can have +2 or -2, lead or lag. The resources who are assigned. If I want to see what is the current, when the project is expected to complete, I can see a snapshot of this project quickly. I can go there and find out what is this is the current, this is the baseline one, this is the variance details which you can see, and also we can generate reports with respect to this particular schedule. For example, say for example I want to see certain reports, in progress report, I want to see show me all the critical tasks, or say show me all the slipping tasks or late tasks. Say for example I am going for critical tasks. So it will generate a report and it will show me all the critical tasks. If you want to customize the report, you can do that pretty easily. That also will teach you as part of communication management, where to create the reports, how to share the reports. There also will be change request, how to handle change requests, that also will be teaching you. So this is the demo part covering communication and time together. Coming back to the presentation, I covered only for time management. There you can have further reading for this practical PMP program. It is available in my blog. So one is Practical PMP PMBOK 5th edition with Microsoft Project 2013, a guide. It is free of cost. You can download anytime. If you want to see it with 2010, you can also have a free copy. This is again with respect, both are with respect to time management. As I am saying, this particular program has got introduced from 2008 onwards. So you have also one with respect to Microsoft Project 2007. So this is, you can download at your own free time. You can read how PMBOK, what is the theory side, how Microsoft Project happens in the practical side. I am repeating, it is one of the most popular courses, not only in India, out of India. A lot of people want to know how to apply PMBOK principles in a practical world. So that is all I have. Now I will take your questions.
Monica, she wants to know like how she can assign different rates for one resource.
Right. So what happens in Microsoft Project? Let me open the file for you because you are here in the demo. So I have opened this Microsoft Project. So what you are going to do, you'll go to the resource. Okay. So first we'll go to the resource sheet view. So if you go to the resource sheet view, there are many resources. As I said, there are three categories of resources: work resource, material resource, and cost resource. To assign a rate, for example, here is a resource name which is John Robinson. He is part of the product development team. His standard rate is $120. Overtime rate is $120. Say for example, you want to change it. You can change it to 140 and say 160. I can change it to 160. So this is how I assign a rate to a particular resource. Now you might want to know that how you want to assign this resource, how this resource rate will be applicable. So when you take this resource and assign this resource to a particular task, for example, John is working here, traveling to on-site, so that time the cost will be calculated. So automatically I can go to another view. I can see what is the cost. So there has been a cost that has been coming for this particular task, traveling to on-site. So this resource, which once you assign this particular resource to a task, then the cost will be calculated. So to assign a rate for a particular resource, you have to go to the resource sheet view. Then you have to give the particular resource rate. It is applicable for work resource, for material resource, and for a cost resource it is slightly different, slightly tricky, but it is not possible to cover in detail. So all I can say, to assign the rate, you have to go to the resource sheet view and give the rate for that particular resource.
Monica again wants to know, please explain baseline concept. Yeah, please explain baseline concept.
Okay, so it is a big one, but I'll try to address it. Yeah, we have 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. To understand baseline, I will say the best example of baseline you need to go, like for example in mountaineering. When a person is going to say Mount Everest or climbing Mount Everest, Mount Everest is around 848 meters or close to 9 kilometers vertically. A person doesn't go to Mount Everest directly 9 kilometers vertically. What a person does, or a group of people when they do mountaineering, they first go, it is easier to climb Mount Everest from Nepal side. So they go to Nepal side and they first put a base camp. Then from base camp onwards they travel 1 kilometer further upwards. Then they put another one, that is they call it as a camp 1. Then again they put a flag there on camp 1, again travel around another 2 kilometers, which is called camp 2, and they rest there for some time. The reason they put base camp, then camp 1, then camp 2, the reason they do it, when you travel in mountaineering or you do mountaineering, so there is a lot of risks involved, like temperature goes down, oxygen is low, there are chances of thunderstorm, there are chances of snowstorm. So in case of any contingency or any case anything happens, or if you want to track how much you have traveled, so they compare from base camp to camp 1 how much they have traveled. Anything goes wrong, they want to fall back to base camp, they can fall back to base camp. From camp 1 to camp 2, if they are traveling similarly, so they can compare how far they have traveled compared to base camp, or they can compare with respect to camp 1. Anything goes wrong, they can go back to base camp or camp 1. Pretty similar concept happens in project management. In project management, what happens? You do a planning, first you do a planning. Once you do a planning, then you share with your management team, senior management team. Then they agree with it, it goes through some iterations. Then you save the data. The data which is saved is your start date of the project, the end date of the project, the duration of the project, the cost of the project. These are the details which are saved in baseline. So for example, you started a project in April 1st, and you saved it, baselined it. This baseline project will communicate it with your team members. Then your team member starts executing on this baseline project. 15 days gone, you have a status date. On the status date, you want to track how far you have traveled. So what you are going to compare with? You are going to compare with respect to the baseline. So the baseline that you have done with respect to 1st of April. So on 15th of April, you are comparing the project, what you have saved on 1st of April. So on 1st of April, you have some plan. This much money should be spent. This much work should have been done. This would have been the case. And on 15th April, on the status date, you are comparing with respect to your baseline, what is the tracking that has happened. On the status date, it might be possible that your cost might be overrun, your schedule might be overrun, or it might be giving you positive result. In case it is overrun, you might want to re-baseline it. For re-baselining, you get an approval from your sponsor, you re-baseline it and save it as a new baseline. When you save it as a new baseline, that dates, that is 15th April's status date, details, date, time, cost, all resources, all these details are saved into a database. Again, you start moving forward, say another 15 days. Then on 30th of April, you want to compare with baseline which you have created on 15th April. Of course, you can compare on 30th April, you can compare with the baseline that you have created on 1st April. So baseline is basically you are creating for comparison or tracking purpose. If you, in management there is a saying, what you cannot track, you cannot improve. So if you have to track or you want to compare what you've planned and what is actually happening, for that you have to do a baseline. As I gave the mountaineering example. So they have a base camp 1, camp 2, then finally just few hundred meters away from the Mount Everest, the summit, there is another baseline that they do. Similarly in project management, you go through baseline 1, baseline 2, like that. In Microsoft project, you can have 10 baselines plus 1, so you can have 11 baselines. So with baseline, you can compare what is your plan, and on the status date, you are seeing how far you have traveled with respect to that plan. And if you want to change that, you can re-baseline it. So that will be your new baseline.
Thanks, Satya. Satya, Sonika also wants to know how to do baseline on MSP. She wants to understand if you can explain any practical thing, any kind of practical use case.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a quick demo. So again, it is a big concept. I will give you a very quick demo. I'll open the Microsoft project plan. So here you have a Gantt chart. So this is your task. It is already under tracking. So how to do baseline? So I'll go to project, set baseline. So there are two things here, set baseline. It gives you options, baseline 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So it has been already baselined long back. This is an old project. If you want to save another baseline, you can say baseline 1 and say OK. When you say OK, the baseline 1 saved. Now baseline 1 doesn't come by default in the graphical view. To see the baseline data and the actual data, you have to switch the view. You have to go to something called tracking Gantt. In tracking Gantt, you'll see both the baseline data. The baseline is this one, the grayed out area. The actual one is on top. So here all are matching. Some of them will be like there might be some delay. For example, so here is a task which is getting a delay. Here is a task. The baseline detail was here, but the task has gone further away. So it was a planned date. Planned date was to be completed here. This is the initial baseline on the baseline that I had first. Then it got changed, so it got finished. So you can see similarly you can create 11 baseline in together in Microsoft project. There is another way also to see the baseline, but again, so what I don't want to, I cannot give all the details here in 1 hour session. So there are many views. You can go to another view. There is something called detail Gantt. There are many Gantt views. So there also you can see the baseline detail. But tracking Gantt is mostly used for your baseline related data in Microsoft project. Suggest that you go through the guides that I showed in one of the slides. So this is free of cost available to you. You can look at the theory. You can see what is practical side of Microsoft project that you can see in a PDF file only for time management. And this is one of its kind course. As I am saying, it is nowhere available. So if you want to get certified in PMP, yes, definitely do so. But in real world, what happens? Your theoretical knowledge is important, definitely, but also your practical knowledge is equally important, if not more. So you need not only know what is the time management or cost management or schedule management or say cost or the stakeholder management. You also need to know how the practical aspect has to be. So if you are interested, you can join this course, which is Practical PMP with Microsoft Project. We also conduct another program that is Practical PMP with Oracle Primavera. So that also is similar line. The tool used there is